Okay, hello and welcome everyone to today's session. I'm Jason Gumpert, editor at msdynamicsworld.com, and I'm pleased to be here to host today's solution showcase. It's our September event. It's been a series that we've really been enjoying, getting educated and acquainted with so many different vendors who add value in the Dynamics 365 for finance and operations and Dynamics AX space. Today is no different. We have a very busy hour, and we're going to get right into it here. We have really only two main parts to today's session. After I'm done speaking, we have 5 presenters. We have time for Q&A at the end, so you can ask all your questions about any individual solution and vendor, or really ask across all of them and get an answer to maybe a more general question. The format, each of our presenters, and here they are, they each are going to have 10 minutes to present. They're going to do that first. We'll take questions throughout. Look for the Q&A block that you should see to the right of the main presentation area. Enter those at any point, and we will save them all for the last few minutes when we do have time. I don't want to take up any more time myself, so without any further delay, we're going to begin with our first presenter, and that is Neil Macdonald of Binary Stream. So Neil, I'm going to give you control, and then the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Jason. Let me get my screen shared.
All right, we see that.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, so appreciate everybody joining today. My name is Neil Macdonald. I'm a solutions consultant with Binary Stream Software. And what we want to talk about today is just a small subset of our subscription billing suite, which we've been showcasing on these calls. In particular, how do you manage ASC 606 and IFRS 15, which is revenue from contracts with customers, inside of D365 F&O? Now, I do want to talk a little bit about what our subscription billing suite can do very briefly. Some of the capabilities that you'll be able to have with our subscription billing suite is being able to create subscription or SaaS type of billing, any recurring billing. We have different billing types in our subscription billing suite: standard billing, usage-based billing, milestone-based billing. We have different billing frequencies, anything from one-time, daily, monthly, quarterly, semi-annual, annual, and you can even compound those, for example, annually times 2, so bill every 2 years. Then we have different pricing methods as well. So there's the standard pricing, the flat pricing. We have cumulative tiers and flat tiers, which are built on extending the capabilities of the trade agreements in D365 F&O. We also have the ability to manage both deferred and non-deferred items. We can do deferrals on 2 different methods. We have the straight line, the ratable, the calendar-based, where you simply take your amount, divide it by the number of periods. We can do equal per period, as you're seeing in this example. We also have an option of doing it per diem. So your months with 31 days, like May, would get a little more revenue than April, which only has 30 days, which will get more than February, which has 28, sometimes 29. We can also do milestone-based billing. So for example, if you have to recognize a certain amount of revenue, but only when you reach a milestone, we can manage that. How do our customers prior to D3, our subscription billing suite, manage that? A lot of them are telling us they have to do it in Excel, which can be very ungainly, a lot of large, massive, ugly spreadsheets that they're managing. And then there's the final piece of the puzzle is ASC 606 or IFRS 15, which is revenue from contracts with customers. Again, customers are having to deal with this in Excel because you have to be able to define your performance obligations, define those standalone selling prices based on various criteria, and you can see we have several different ways of defining that here in the application, and then automatically reallocating the revenue. Just a very quick update on what ASC 606 is. It's basically a 5-step revenue recognition model that says you have to identify your contracts with your customers, determine your performance obligations. Now those 2 you can do outside of a piece of software. You can look at your contracts and determine, what is it I'm actually selling. But now we have to determine the transaction price of each performance obligation, allocate the revenue based on the standalone selling price, and then recognize the revenue upon satisfaction. Bottom line, you need to recognize the correct amount of revenue at the correct time behind the correct items. That's really all ASC 606 says. It just takes 200 pages to say it. How do you do this inside your ERP? Well, there's a specific formula. I'm not going to run through this entire example, but if you look in the bottom half of this, the formula to calculate the amount of revenue is taking the item's standalone selling price In the case of my CPU here, it's $700. I've got that stored in my system. Divide it by the sum of all of the standalone selling prices, which is $1,200. Multiply it by the selling price of the entire contract to get me, in this case, $583.34 of revenue behind this item that has a standalone selling price of $700. So it's a pretty simple formula, but if I've got tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of contracts where I have to do this, it can be very ungainly and, again, very difficult to do. How do we handle this in D365 F&O? We have the ability under the multi-element revenue allocation module to store the standalone selling prices. You can see I've got them stored here, and again, I've got various methods of calculating and storing those standalone selling prices. When I go and add these items to an actual contract, and I've got an example built out, where I can take all of the items, and you can notice in the lower half of the screen, when I get my items showing here, I have my items. They're all laid out here, and if I scroll across, you can see I have the unit price. This is what the customer expects to pay for these items. Now, how do these compare with the standalone selling prices? Without software to do this, I've got to take this out to Excel, do that calculation, and manually journalize it back in. With the revenue allocation module, we can come in and the system says, I know what the contract value is of each of those. I know what the standalone selling price is. It then uses that formula, the standalone selling price of the item, giving its relative value multiplied by the contract. So for this item that the customer is paying $15,000 for, I can actually recognize $16,248.08 in revenue. The difference between what I'm billing and what I can recognize will be stored in this account. Some periods it might be a debit, some periods it might be a credit, but by the end of the contract, I will have recognized correctly the correct amount of revenue and billed the same amount of revenue. So over the life of the contract, the multi-element revenue allocation portion of our subscription billing suite is making sure that you're staying ASC 606 or IFRS 15 compliant. So I'm going to stop my time there. I went through that very, very quickly. My information is here on the screen. Feel free to get a hold of us at Binary Stream. We'll give you a lot more information and take our time and go through a detailed example of how our subscription billing suite will solve your financial problems.
All right, thank you, Neil. And just a note, we will be putting contact information up at the end as well, so if you don't jot it down as people are going through their slides, we will have more information at that point. Our next presenter is Michael Rodeska of webtelligence, and I'm going to change control over to you now, Michael.
Thanks for this. Thanks, Jason.
Yep.
So, good afternoon from Germany. So I lost some seconds. I have to make more speed. So my name is Michael. I'm a SQL and AX technical infrastructure architect since about 18 years. And I focus on SQL Server, mainly performance tuning, monitoring, and also special expertise in running this with Dynamics AX. Also here, the area of performance tuning, test automation, and infrastructure health checks. So just that I don't do this the first time. Here's some customers. But yeah, what is the topic for today? The session today, I want to talk about SQL Server database performance monitoring, analysis, and management. And just in my history, I was tired and sick of monitoring solutions that I was using up till now. I was using SQL Server Activity Monitor, SQL Server Profiler, all tools that don't give real insight. I think you can have maybe the same experience, or other tools like Dynamics Per from Microsoft. It's just a tool set with no graphical interface, so it's not easy for not a professional. Today I want to show you another approach with a solution from a company called DB+. It's a Polish software vendor, and we sell their solutions. And they have a different approach how to monitor SQL Server and how to analyze performance issues. We have one prerequisite, what we need in your AX environment to get more deeper insight. It's called the connection context. Here's some links you can go on. It's just doing one thing. It's enabling on an application server the possibility that the SQL Server knows which user was running or starting a query on the SQL Server. So if this is just a setting in the registry, you enable this, and then we can leverage this information in the monitoring tool. So what I want to show you, here's some questions. A lot of my customers ask me always when I come in their house, they ask me, we have today performance issues. Maybe how was the load yesterday? Can we compare the load? Or they say, last week Monday, we implemented a new release of AX, we did an upgrade. Can we compare the load from today with the day before the last release? Other question can be, what queries was running a specific time in the past? For example, what was running this night, 2 o'clock? What was making the load? Or we have here a single query, it seems to be quite complex. Can we know who was running this query and what time? And what load was it consuming? Other thing, quite often we see database blockings, and we want to know who is responsible for this blocking, or who is now be blocked and has now trouble in the application. And worst thing is, we had a blocking yesterday morning, and we want to troubleshoot what was happening yesterday. Also, we have here a long-running query, but which user was initiating this query, because we cannot figure out where in the application the code is coming from. Other thing, quite often, we have here a complex query with maybe 20, 50, 60 parameters. We want to run it in Management Studio. Oh my God, how we can fill this query with these parameters? How can the software help us here? Also, quite often, what I see now, most of the performance issues we see in the AX customer base, they face the problem with parameter sniffing. And with this software, we can check if we face these problems, and the best is we can overcome a lot of these problems because we have a functionality to implement the plan guides that can fix these issues. Also, often the questions, we did the deployment, and now what queries are new, because we want to focus in performance tuning on these new queries. Other thing, very often, the transaction log was busted this night. Who was responsible that the transaction log was getting so big? So the next, I think I have 5 minutes resting. 6. I want to show you live in the system what we can do. So first question was, is the load different yesterday compared to today? When I was asking this question to technical people, infrastructure department, they put their head away because they know it takes them a lot of time to create a comparison chart. For us, it's quite easy. We have today already here. We say, okay, we want to have yesterday. And we say, when we did the release on Thursday night. So Thursday we can compare good. Okay, we take this also in the screen. We can make here in and can make it zoom. And what we can make also, we can say, okay, for us it's interesting, how was the CPU? Or how was execution count compared to this? So here within seconds, we have an impression if really the load today or just compared to some days it's different or not, and then we can go on. Other thing is, what was running this night, 2 o'clock? In the history, I had to tell my customer, I don't know, I was sleeping. With this software, I can go in, can say, okay, this night we have a time frame here, 2:41, we go here 2:26. So the software is making every 15 minutes a snapshot what is running on the system and makes a delta calculation. So we see here now in the time frame from 2:26 to 2:45 around, we was running, here we see here now top 20 statements. So we see here there was this query was using 58% of CPU time in this time frame. The second top query was already using only 29%, and so on. And we can say, okay, interesting, but how was in this peak here? We just go there and we see it's other queries what's running there. So we get a really fast insight what is running on the system. Other question is, what is really running my load over the time? We go in, we see here today, or I say, okay, no, I'm interested in yesterday, so I just change the date. I see here an overall load on the system, and I see here also my top 20 statements, or also if you prefer to see all, you can switch to all. I say, okay, no, the top 20 is for me enough. I want to see my top number 1 query over the day. What load is it producing? And we see this query consumes around, in this time, nearly 100% of the load. Here in the night, it's only maybe 10%. Here also under the day, we choose the second one. And it's adding up, or I take the first one out and we see, okay, this query is only running under the day. And the next one, oh, it's running all in the night. So we have a fast understanding of what query is running when, how much load it's consuming. Also fine here, we can filter the queries, so we can say, okay, I want only queries that include sales. So we see here, we have one query with sales, other one, we can add them up. Other nice thing what we can do, I want to go in and say, okay, I want to search slow SQL queries. We can here sort, and I choose, oh, we have here a long-running query that takes 250 seconds or 257 seconds. I go in and say, okay, this query is really interesting for me. I copy the query hash. This is identifying the query. I go in my sessions. I go in a history, and I want to see yesterday if this was running maybe yesterday. I go there and search. And the system is telling me, oh yes, yesterday, 4 o'clock, this query was running, and the user that was running this was the AX user batch 1. So we have a really fast insight who was running and what time was running this query. The same we can do with blocking locking issues. So we can here see online logs. Actually, we have no locking issue. We go here in the history. It's for today, and we see, in the night we had really a blocking issue. And we go just there, select the blocking situation, and we see we had here lead blocking situation. So this session was blocking others, and we see he was doing it in the Dynamics AX database, and it was initiated by the user bboy. And we can see he was blocking this session, was the user, we can see here, tpoor. So we have all the information, who was responsible for the blocking and who got blocked and had issues with this. And this in the history or in actual situations. Other thing I want to show you really fast is we go there and I want to show you how about an issue when we want to see a query with a lot of parameters. And we see, we have here a query that has really a lot of parameters. What the software is doing, it shows us all the parameters, but I want to run it now in SQL Server Management Studio. What I did in the past, I had to substitute all these parameters here in the query, but the software makes me the life much more easy. I go here and say, just create me please a script. So I have here the parameter definition, here the place where the parameters are set, and here the execution of the query. So this I can copy and run in SQL Server Management Studio. What we can do next, really fast, we can go have a view on the system in a graphical way. We see here now the top 20 queries based on CPU time in a graphical representation. The x-axis is the time, the y-axis is the CPU usage, and I see here, I feel something strange. It's running, the green one here is running quite low. It's going up, falling down. I want to take a look on this special query. And I see here's the query and something special. I see this query has 2 different query plans. The system helps me.
We are at time, Michael.
Yeah, I can see, okay, what is the difference? And go on. So I have to finish.
All right.
And here just for you, you can download the trial version and take a look on the system. Thanks.
All right, thank you very much, Michael. And our next presenter is going to be Jason Carter of Atlas from Insight Software.
All right. So yes, we are Insight Software, but what most people will know us as around the Dynamics world is the our product Atlas, which has been around since AX version 1. The current version, Atlas 6.2, I'll tell you about a lot of the great things that it does, and it can do all of these things for any version of Dynamics from AX4 to the latest release of D365, also multiple versions of Dynamics CRM, both on-premise and the D365 sales. I myself am kind of a business analyst within our company, among other things. So I've been working around the Dynamics products for more than 20 years. and working specifically on getting information out of those systems. And there's a lot of interesting struggles for a person in a role like me as a business analyst. I do not want to be dependent on IT for everything. I want to be able to get at that data. And challenges that I've faced in AX 2012, there are a number of different tools available, but they all have significant limitations. With the Excel add-in, I always want to get data across entities or combine data across modules, and I can't really do that with that tool. With Management Reporter, well, I look at a financial report. If I'm doing expense analysis, I want to get back to vendor numbers and vendor names and invoices and details that I can't get with MR. SSRS, I could build just about anything I wanted if I have the technical background for it, but usually that means a dependence on IT. And when we talk about getting data in, the same thing with the import-export framework, IT-focused types of tools. With D365, the challenges change a bit. There's no longer access directly to the tables, it's to the entities, but many of the challenges remain the same, being able to link data across entities, data across modules, even just dealing with some of the limitations of what we get out of the box. In the entity model that you get from Microsoft, there's significant gaps, particularly in the area of transactional data. And that's something that any Atlas customer gets a set of now 45 entities from us that don't have to be developed, can be deployed into their environment, and they make all that data available to Atlas, but also then available to Power BI to be replicated to an entity store into a BYOD data warehouse. So the place that a lot of people get to is not thinking enough about reporting and data uploads during implementation typically. And you go live, and then you're stuck in this place that I've kind of depicted on the bottom of the slide, which is I'm going to run into the limitations of the out of the box tools pretty quickly. And from there, do we have at this point the appetite, the budget, the time to do an entire BI project? Well, in between those two things are three incredibly powerful tools that every Dynamics customer should be using for reporting and interacting with their data. A combination of Atlas, Excel, and Power BI. So the specific things that Atlas brings is a real-time connection from multiple Office applications, from Excel, Word, PowerPoint, and even Outlook, across your entire system. So not just financial reporting, but any other type of operational reporting, projects, quantity shortages for production orders, asset reports, human resources and payroll reports. All the time, though, adhering to the security model of Dynamics. So I only have rights to build reports and see data that I would have rights to based on my profile inside the system. But as a business analyst, I can connect data across multiple tables or entities, across multiple modules in different parts of the system. And I do this without having to understand the complexity beneath that. Is this an inner join, an outer join, one-to-one, one-to-many? I'm not having to deal with that because Atlas is inheriting table and entity relationships from Dynamics, reading them from AX 2009, 2012, as well as from D365, and showing those to me in a way where it's a single click and a link, and it joins together a couple of different tables or a couple of different parts of the system. When we do uploads, Atlas can be used for creating new master or setup data in Dynamics. Can be used for editing existing master data, changing credit limits on customers, payment terms for vendors, buyer groups on items, and so on. And also can be used for transaction uploads. That's one of the most popular features of the product, is being able to do everything from general ledger journals to sales orders and purchase orders, movement and count journals, asset acquisition journals, budgets, and so on. So we have this full, secure, data-validated read-write integration across the last multiple versions of Dynamics AX and 365 and the last multiple versions of Dynamics CRM. In addition to that, we can read from really just about any other data source to be able to blend Dynamics and non-Dynamics data. And of course, in the time that we have here, I'm not going through and building a number of things, although I love to do that and show how I build things. But just to show you a few of the reports that I have, many of these come right from our template library. And if they don't come from our template library, many of them come from my following of Dynamics users in user group forums, online, venting, complaining, talking about their struggles to get reports that you think you should be able to get in the out-of-the-box reporting, but you just can't. And you might have gotten a quote for something that's going to be 5 or 6, or five figures typically, to build this thing, and it's going to take weeks to build it. I read those things in the user group forums. I jump into Excel, I open up Atlas, and some of those things that are weeks-long discussions in the forums about, has anybody figured out how to build this thing, are 15-minute projects for me in Excel to build them using Atlas. So we can do this, what we call single cell reporting. So for financial statements, Atlas can be a complement or sometimes a replacement to Management Reporter. What I see with Management Reporter all the time is people that build up row and column definitions of reports, and the moment the report is run, they export it to Excel because they want to do other formulas, other analysis, formatting charts. Atlas lets me just begin and end right in Excel with live connections to my data. We can do what we call table-based reports. I referenced this example a little bit earlier, this idea of being able to combine data across different parts of the system. So this is a particularly popular one if I'm doing expense analysis. And by the way, some of these templates, as I'm jumping back and forth between these, I think a couple of them are AX 2009, and several are AX 2012, and the rest D365. And unless I've labeled it in here, you probably don't even see the difference, because Atlas really looks and works and feels the same across all those different versions. So here I'm pulling general ledger transaction details, and as I said in an example of wanting to do expense analysis, I really need to know more than just, this was a vendor transaction. I want vendor number, I want vendor name, maybe the invoice. Once Atlas has connected data across different parts of the system, well, now I have a drill down that I added that takes me back to invoice lines. And as I click through the different rows of the data, my drill down is updating in real time right off my my production data. We can do that on, of course, sales data as well. So I've got a very similar example built looking at my revenue accounts and being able to drill down. Maybe I want to go back and look at sales by customer or item categories or any other types of information. So I've got a bunch of different reports open here. There's all kinds of different examples that Atlas can do really just about anything. I'm not sure in the 7 years that I've been working with the product that I've seen a report that we can't create, including even really interesting things like this. A report that is refreshing in real time off of D365 sales to show me opportunity in the pipeline, connecting to my on-prem AX 2012, but it could be to the D365 F&O, to show me my open balance in the ERP side of the system, pull in the customer's current credit limit from the ERP system, calculate the available credit and show me that. Of course, I'm in Excel, so maybe I want to highlight the row red if the sale can't close this month or this quarter, and pulling in data from a sales cube. So Atlas can combine data from all over the place. And again, not just financial data. One of the things people really love about it is if I want to upload bill of materials, production orders, routes, do reports on any part of the system, Atlas can do that. So, as I said, it'll build reports on just about anything. I would love to, if you got a challenge for us or for me in that regard, I love those challenges. I love those puzzles. If you happen to be heading to the user group event in a couple of weeks, we are a platinum sponsor, a nice big booth right inside the door. I will be there every time the expo is open, and you can bring those challenges to me and I will work on them. Or we have a solution showcase, and if you're not at the event or viewing this after the event, reach out to me via email, and we love solving those reporting puzzles. We solve them better than any other reporting solution for Dynamics AX and 365, which is why Atlas is the most used add-on by far across AX and D365. And with that, I think I'm at time.
Great, thank you so much, Jason. And I am now going to pass things along to our next presenter, Doug Bertram of Metafile. So Doug, you should now have control.
Great, thanks, Jason. Let me share my screen here. And there we go. All right, well, welcome everyone. Thanks, Jason. As Jason said, my name is Doug Bertram. I'm one of the regional account managers for a company called Metafile. We only have a limited amount of time, so I'm going to kind of give you a very quick overview of our MetaViewer solution and how it's tightly integrated with Dynamics 365 and AX 2012. On the screen there, you'll see my contact information, info@metafile.com. We encourage you to shoot us an email, ask us more questions offline, or set up a one-on-one webinar with your company where we can actually spend a little bit more time drilling into the solutions. So just to give you kind of an overview of what MetaViewer does, MetaViewer is a content management imaging system solution that we can really use across the enterprise. We've been offering solutions since 1979. We've been very tightly integrated with Microsoft Dynamics for the last 10 years and certified by Microsoft. One of the things that you can use MetaViewer for that is probably one of our most popular solutions is this AP automation, or how do I get control over processing the invoices through my organization. So if I take that technology of MetaViewer and apply it to the challenges of processing invoices, it starts by capturing the invoices as soon as they come into my organization, whether they be paper or electronic. And it's really this electronic side that we'd like to try and focus on with our clients. If you can get your vendors to email you invoices, we can set the system up to automatically watch one or multiple email boxes, really preventing that paper from ever happening, but more importantly, preserving the textual information that document contains. We then pull that attached invoice right into the system. It goes into a tool called Invoice Accelerator that we developed to intelligently read that document and extract the data. We use the data to index or identify what that document's all about in MetaViewer, but ultimately we've got some web services that are going to push and create the transactions up in your Dynamics solution as well. So it really eliminates the data entry, and that's really the ideal solution because nobody's opening up mail, nobody's scanning anything in, and we eliminate a lot of that data entry. We also realize that you might not be able to get everything in electronic format, so you can scan documents into MetaViewer from paper using a scanner or multifunctional copier kind of device. But when you do scan a document into the system, it is just a picture. There is no text for us to extract, so if we don't find any text, that's where I have this extra box here that says scanning OCR. If we don't find any text, it'll run it through that process. It'll look at all the dots on the page, or all the pixels, if you will. And any dots that are touching each other, it says that's a 1 or a 6 or a G, essentially converting that picture back into text. It then feeds into that same tool, that Invoice Accelerator tool, that's going to intelligently read that document, extract the data, and deliver that document into workflow. Workflow being the second element of the solution. Most people, when they think of workflow, they think of routing a document around from person to person throughout their organization. And that's a big part of what the workflow does. We're also, that tight integration that we have with Microsoft Dynamics allows us to utilize data that's in your Dynamics solution. So interacting with the vendor cards, the chart of accounts, and the rules for coding invoices, the purchase order information that's stored, and so we can match or reconcile the invoice against what's in the purchase order tables within AX. So all that integration, doing duplicate checks throughout the process, all that kind of stuff we're doing with the documents as they flow through the system. From a broad routing perspective, we've developed a kind of a best practices approach to AP automation that we call our fast track solution. In there, we've built two broad routing workflows, one dealing with the non-purchase order related invoices. They get routed around for approval and coding. Purchase order invoices get more matched to what has been either opened or received against that purchase order in AX. And then lastly, kind of the final aspect of the solution is really that retrieval, giving everybody access to the documents when and where they need them. Advantage for us is there's no software to load on anybody's workstation. We use the standard internet browser as a tool to talk to that MetaViewer solution, whether you choose to have MetaViewer installed on-premise, or we actually have a hosted data center that we could host your solution as well. But in either of those cases, it's still that standard browser that's going to talk to that server to participate in workflows, search for documents, and those types of things. It is mobile friendly, so if I logged into MetaViewer with a smaller device like a phone or a tablet, it's going to sense that I'm on a smaller device, and it's going to still allow me to see all the same information, but it's going to present it back in a little bit different format so that it's easy to see. And then I can use the gestures that I'm used to on those devices, like pinching and zooming and swiping and all those kinds of things. And then to take retrieval one step further, once we've created the transaction over in Dynamics and you're looking at that transaction, if you wanted to see the document in MetaViewer, we have a new menu item that'll be across the top of all your screens within AX or Dynamics. And you can actually click, I want to see the invoice, and it presents that data that's currently active on that screen, executes a search, and then shows you that document side by side with that window. So since I've got a little bit of time, let me jump over to a virtual machine that I've got, escape out of the PowerPoint here, just kind of give you a general idea of what the solution looks like. So when invoices come in, we read, we extract the data, we deliver those into the first step of the workflow here where we're actually interacting with the dynamic system to pull back information from the vendor record, pull back the payment terms, calculating discounts, due dates by early pay dates, that type of thing. We also can interact with the vendor record. So if you had default account codes set up for the vendor, like we can automatically code the invoice as you see here, pulling back your main accounts, your business units, departments, all the dimensions depending on what your organization uses for dimensions would all be displayed here, including project accounting. We can, if you do use project accounting, you can code lines for the projects and then specify project activities, categories, line properties, etc. Once we pull this back, if I wanted to accept the defaults, I could do so, or I can actually even add rows. If I said add row here, I can say this is a ledger account. If I start typing a few characters of my main account, it communicates directly with the chart of accounts within Dynamics and then is able to pull back the appropriate account codes, or I could actually search by, if I put in a description, it actually searched by that as well. I can select what I want, code, and encode it as appropriate. Okay. Once I've done that, I can say this is coded, I want approval required. It then communicates with the system to specify who is the last, for this company and vendor combination, who is my default approver. I can look at our own system or look at some other tables. You can see we can specify up to 5 levels of approval. In this particular case, the last time my default is Department 100. I could click and change that, who I wanted to go. We can also build escalation matrices into the product too. So for example, if I pull up Department 600, because this invoice is for almost $90,000 and Department 600, their approval limit is $500, it automatically picked the manager 600. And because it was over their approval limit, it also assigned it to the VP of service and so on. When everything is good, I click send for approval. It routes, update my default, and it routes for approval to the appropriate parties. All right, so purchase order invoices are just a little bit, actually I think I'm going to run out of time. Purchase order invoices are just a little bit different. In that case, where if we actually compare that to the purchase order and everything is a perfect match, we're going to actually push those transactions up to Dynamics and then create the transaction in Dynamics. Otherwise, when I open up the transaction, for example, a non-purchase order invoice here, just real quickly, open this up. I can see that transaction, and here's where that MetaViewer is, the MetaViewer menu item. If I clicked invoice, it then executes that search and takes me right to the document that I want to see. And then I can see that history of where it's all been down over to the side here, who approved it, who coded it, etc. All right. So I think that's all I've got time for today, but if you do have other questions after the presentation, shoot us an email at info@metafile.com and we'd be happy to help you. Jason?
All right, thank you, Doug. And our next and final presenter is Ed Kennedy of Episerver. And Ed, I'm going to pass control over to you now.
Thanks, Jason. Can you hear me all right?
We can.
All right, wonderful. Well, good morning and good afternoon to everyone on the line here with us. I feel like it's been such a diverse group of different solutions, so I hope that as you're listening to all these different solutions, you're finding the ones that really connect. I'm going to take a little bit of a right turn from most of the behind-the-scenes demos that you've seen from products integrated into CRM or AX and talk about where your digital operations, your CRM, AX, 365 for sales connects to digital experiences that your marketing or e-commerce teams may be running. So I want to talk first about why organizations can no longer compete on price, and 2 challenges and 2 opportunities of unifying dynamics with your digital experience project and investments. And I'll talk about Episerver and what our solution is for Microsoft Dynamics customers. Many of you may have seen this before. If you haven't, it's pretty obvious that customers now have a lot more power than they did in the past. They have access to information, product data, price, location, and for consumers. And one of the guys who's taken most advantage of this is Jeff Bezos. He looks pretty innocent in 1998, just selling a basket full of books, but as we know now, in 2018, this guy and this company has really beefed up, and they can basically sell whatever they want, and they're coming in and disrupting categories along with other FANG, Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, Google, others that are disrupting and using digital to disrupt all industries. It's something we've now got to really pay attention to. According to research, why customers and consumers evaluate and differentiate the products that you sell is on product, price, and customer experience. It's expected over the next several years that customer experience is going to be the way that people differentiate their offers to the market. The product and price are no longer a way that you can compete, so investment in digital experience and customer experience is vital. And there's really a dividing line now that organizations need to consider. There's transactional or based experiences, and in the context of online shopping or e-commerce, these are things like free shipping, lowest price you can possibly find, a wide assortment of products. That's the Amazon way. And my argument is that organizations can't compete on this anymore. There's too many other vendors out there that have superior supply chains, and a better distribution, can get lower price, and even if you do have that, you need to differentiate on something else. You need to be experience-driven in how you use and leverage your Dynamics investment in presenting web experiences. This includes automating self-service, providing inspirational content, providing omni-channel experiences across devices, having solutions be easy to use, personalizing them to the visitors of your website, and your Dynamics investment is key to extracting that value. So let me just touch on the 2 challenges that I most often see organizations who are running AX or NAV or 365 for sales when they implement a new digital experience platform. No surprise, it's systems integrations that people who are investing in digital experience say that integrating to their back office systems is the nightmare. And I'm sure if you're running AX or CRM and integrated into your web platforms, you've gotten a flavor and a taste of this. The other is data silos. We've got customer data, order data, inventory, product data, price lists, all spread out across the organization, and they're not being used in ways that actually improve the customer experience. So we have to address these challenges, but I also think it's important to look up towards the horizon at the opportunities. One being, inside of Dynamics 365 for sales and in AX, there is a personalization gold mine. The kind of customer data that is in these systems can be used to personalize the web experience, which drives value. And I don't think many leaders who are operating and responsible for these applications know the depth of value of data that they're sitting on and how it can actually be used to personalize the web experience. I'll touch on that in just a second. The other is these digital platforms are now tracking so much customer behavioral data and giving intent signals that customer service teams and associates are not using. So the opportunity of connecting that customer behavior into CRM and AX is so valuable and vital, and Episerver has a solution that addresses all 4 of these areas. So Episerver is a digital experience platform, and we run on Microsoft Azure. We have 5 main application services. We run 30,000 websites for companies around the world, everything from retail, manufacturing, wholesale distribution, consumer brands, and more. We operate e-commerce websites, digital marketing websites, email marketing programs, and we embed personalization and analytics into everything that we do. And we have deep integrations to 365 for sales, AX, NAV, finance and operations, and Power BI. These are some of our customers here on the right. We have over 7,000 customers worldwide, and through our cloud subscription and through our add-ons and connectors to the Dynamics Business Suite, we provide a turnkey solution for companies that have already invested in Dynamics to get a leading-edge digital platform up and running. So I'm just going to highlight some of the integrations that are included in our offering to Microsoft Dynamics customers. Customers come to us and they launch digital experiences. They launch new .coms, they implement new e-commerce platforms, new digital marketing sites, and we have a solution in that area. We have out-of-the-box connectors to 365 for sales that pushes customer data from the web into CRM and pulls data from CRM to personalize what content you see on the website using customer record data that's stored in CRM. We also have similar add-on and connectors to 365 AX, finance and operations, NAV, to allow you to use all of the business logic, product data, and pricing data to power an e-commerce website. The combination of these two drastically reduces the system's integration costs because we operate off of the same Dynamics model as you're already using. We also tap into other Microsoft technologies like cognitive services to provide customers who are using your websites to do image search, to take a picture of a product and pull back what products are in your catalog that match that image. And we also export data out of our customer data platform and mix in with CRM and ERP data in Power BI. So like I said, there are a whole host of different integrations that we have to sales, finance and operations, AX, and 365 for retail. You can use that to sync product customer data. You can also submit orders into 365 for retail. You can use CRM data to personalize the website experience for your customers, and you can bring that data back into CRM and also set up marketing campaigns within CRM to launch within Episerver. One of the most powerful things that I see organizations using when they marry CRM and our digital experience platform is our customer data platform. We're tracking every click on every video, on every image, and every block for every visitor to our website, known and unknown. And we push that data into CRM to allow call center agents and sales reps to see what have their customers been doing on the website recently so they can get a deep understanding of what they should be talking to their customers about next. We also have an AI-based recommendations engine that studies what people are doing on your website and then recommends content to them, whether it's suggested products that you and I are familiar with seeing on sites like Amazon or related content. You should read this article next. You should watch this video next. We provide that on our web platforms, on desktop, mobile, and email. That's something that's out of the box with our solution. But with our add-ons and connectors, you can now push these web recommendations into CRM and into mobile point of sale. So your associates and call center agents can recommend products based off of what the customers have been doing on the website or suggest content that they should read in their evaluation of your solutions. And finally, we mix all of this data together from CRM, AX, finance and operations, and Episerver into unified Power BI dashboards embedded within our product to allow you to gain deeper insights into customer behavior and make better decisions. One customer that uses this, both Episerver and 365 Retail and CRM, is Easons. They're a book retailer in Ireland. They increased their revenue by 31% and their average order value on their website by 22%, combining the business logic and data from AX into the Episerver platform. And they were noted in the Irish Times for seeing a massive turnaround as they go through an entire digital transformation, implementing a new website, AX, and CRM, all within 18 months. Like some of the other attendees here, we will be at the D365 User Conference and AX User Conference in October. I will be speaking at this on Wednesday, diving deeper into some of these examples and how to operationalize this.
All right, thank you, Ed, and we are at time for your for your presentation too. So that wraps up the 5 presentations. Thank you to all of our presenters for getting into the fairly tight confines of today's format. We really appreciate that. And I'm just going to take control back here. As I mentioned before, I just want to put up just some final contact information so you can follow up with any of the companies that you saw today. And we do have a few minutes for Q&A. So I'm going to launch right into that. A few questions have come in already through the Q&A block to the right on the WebEx window. If you have any questions based on what you've heard, please do enter them now. We'll get to as many as we have time for. One technical note, I just want to see if we still have Jason on the line. Jason, I've just opened your line up. Are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, great. So we still have your audio. Okay. But moving into the question queue here, the first one I have is actually for Neil. And let me just make sure I have you online here. Okay, great. So the first question, when a deferral schedule is created, do the journal entries get posted into future periods? For example, does a 24-month schedule create 24 journal entries up front?
No, and that's one of the nice things about our system is we do not do that. You don't have to have those future periods created or open in order for your deferrals to be created. I've been an accountant for 24 years. I have yet to meet an accountant that wants me touching their general journal 24 months into the future. So we make sure we don't do that. We build you the table, we build you the schedule, so it's there so that you can look at it, you can forecast on it, you can still run reports and queries. What am I going to recognize next month, next quarter, next year? But nothing hits the general ledger until you tell it to hit the general ledger.
All right, thank you. Question for Michael for webtelligence. Can we use the tool also for monitoring NAV or CRM?
Oh, yes, for sure. So the solution is it's independent from the application. It's working with SQL Server. So yes, can be used.
Great, thank you. All right. And a question for Jason here. It's asking about reporting beyond the GL. Does Atlas support reporting beyond the GL? And Jason, I'm sorry, let me make sure your line's open. Yep.
Yeah, it's open there. Atlas can get to every bit of the system. In fact, when you're talking AX 2009 and 2012, it immediately sees every customization in your system and can report from or upload to those as well. And in D365, any other data that's made available via the entity model to OData. So we have people that don't touch the financial reporting part of the product. I had an on-site demo a couple months ago for a customer they're doing production and quality reporting, and they're uploading bill of materials and routes, and that's what they use it for. So any part of the system.
All right, excellent. Question for Doug from Metafile. It's asking about process automation. Are you adapting your solution? I'm sort of paraphrasing here, but how are you adapting your solutions with regard to the greater demand for process automation?
Sure, I would say a couple changes that we've seen in the recent last few years here that kind of help us deliver the solution a little bit faster to folks. Historically, we would sell the solution as a general document management solution and then spend 3-4 days consulting with the client to say, what do you want the solution to do? And we were building everything from scratch. Well, to speed up implementations, we developed what we call this fast track solution, which is kind of a best practices approach to AP. So when we load the solution, we can load that fast track solution. It prompts our installers for where's their dynamic solution, and then we can get a solution, a fully functional system up and running very quickly. And now we can walk their invoices through and decide how do we need to adjust it from here. So I think that's one of the big things that we've really changed to deliver the solution faster at a lower price point. And then I'd say the second element is we're seeing a rise in the number of clients that wanted us to host their solution. We've had a hosted facility for, I think, about the last 7 years here or so. And we're really seeing a rise in more hosted than we do on-premise. Historically, we've done a lot of on-premise solutions, and we still offer the solution on both fronts, but I think we're kind of flexible to adjust on both of those fronts.
All right, great. A question for Ed, asking what records can be used from Dynamics 365 in the Episerver website? And Ed, we are not hearing you.
Can you still see me? Yeah, sorry, or
Yes.
hear me? Sorry,
Now
I was
we
just
can.
on mute. From 365, you can pull in customer records and account records for populating the customer profiles that customers use on the website. But you can also use certain fields to target content and experiences based off of what customer grouping or segmentation you've done in 365 as well.
Okay, great. Neil, another question for you, asking how your subscription billing solution works with the new revenue recognition functionality that's going to be added to the fall release of D365 FO.
That is a good question. So Microsoft is adding some functionality to D365 F&O. We're pushing through to sales orders from our subscription billing, so as long as it's working behind the sales order, it should work fine. We have not obviously had a chance to test it and see how it works. There is some functionality that we are adding that Microsoft is not, however. Obviously the straight line recognition, the per diem, that will be there. We have the event-based. We also have the tie-in with the ASC 606 piece that we were looking at here today. So again, until Microsoft actually releases that, I'm not sure exactly how it would work, but as long as it's pushing behind the sales order and they're doing their rev rec there, their deferrals, then we should be able to be compatible with that. But you know, ask us that again, give us time once that's released, and we'll be happy to get you a more correct answer on that.
All right, excellent. I had a couple of other questions that I thought each of you could probably answer pretty quickly for our audience. So one was asking what versions of Dynamics AX or 365 are compatible with your solution, and then the other is asking how is your solution licensed. So I thought maybe I could just go around to each of you and you could each kind of touch on both of those, and maybe we could start with Michael. So Michael, how is your solution licensed, and what versions of AX and 365 is it compatible with? And it looks like your line is muted.
You can hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, fine. So licensing is based on SQL Server instance level. So we license per SQL instance. And Dynamics 365 problem is in the cloud version, we don't have access to the metadata in SQL instance. So here we are out. But on the development and the test environments where we have a native SQL Server running, we can use it.
All right, great. And Jason?
So be any version of AX from AX4 to the latest release of D365, any dynamic CRM from 2011 to the 365 for sales.
Great. And in terms of licensing?
Licensing is based on data connections and named users. It's a couple of different user types: the designer, power user who builds things, and then kind of a consumer user who can interact, run reports, or run uploads.
All right, wonderful. Doug Bertram.
Yeah, we license the solution for both on-premise and hosted. On-premise, there's the software licenses and an annual support fee. On hosted, you're kind of paying a monthly fee for the use of the software, the support, and the facility. And in terms of which versions of Dynamics we work with, AX 2012 as well as D365 Financial and Operations. And then beyond that, maybe not on this call, GP, SL, NAV, we work with all those as well from a Microsoft Dynamics platform perspective.
All right. Ed Kennedy, you want to take this one?
Yeah, we're licensed off of a cloud subscription, so there's some business metrics we look at, like page views or traffic, product catalog size, to determine what the subscription is to Episerver, and then we support our add-ons for and integrations to Dynamics products, including 365 sales, AX for retail, including any retail server instances. We also support NAV and the latest F&O as well.
All right, great. And Neil, why don't I come back to you to take a shot at this one?
Okay, sure. So again, our subscription billing suite is 3 different components. There's the advanced revenue expense deferrals. On the AX side, that is working right now in AX 2012. We also have the advanced recurring contract billing, the multi-element revenue allocation. We have all 3 of those for D365 Finance and Operations 7.2, 7.3. We just upgraded to 8.0, so that's now out. Again, probably for another call, but we can also do the same thing in Business Central, NAV, and Dynamics GP for all of those. As far as the licensing goes, for everything except Dynamics GP, we are based on named users.
All right, wonderful. Well, we are at time here. I want to thank everyone in the audience for your questions and for your attention today. Obviously, feel free to reach out to us or to any of the presenters whose contact you see up on the slide now. Neil, Michael, Jason, Doug, Ed, thank you all so much for taking the time today. Really appreciate it. And I hope this was valuable to you also in the audience. So many different ways to add value to your D365 FO or AX solution. Really fun to be able to host it. And with that, we are going to wrap things up. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks, Jason. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Jason.
Thank you.
Thank you.